Well, hello, and welcome once again to the Far From Normal Radio Show. I am Jay Moss, your host, and I am joined once again by my brother, Mr. Bud Veno. Bud, how are you doing this evening?
Yo, and yo, my brother from another mother, Jay Money Moss. Oh boy, Jay. We got a championship show tonight, Jay. A knockout. I can keep going with these all night. Our sister, the power forward, Neely, Petrie. Neely, I'll say it like this. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I am ready for this show tonight. I am ready to spread the truth and the light, and I'm excited.
Awesome. We're going to spread a lot of truth tonight.
Yeah, Jay, June 26th, and I know we have been waiting for this show. I sent our first guest, Wendell, a message a couple days ago, and I said, I'm already waiting, sir. So if you want to go on early, we can go on early. We're excited. We've got some awesome guests lined up. It's been a really busy week. Jay, I'm ready to rock, as always, my brother.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to rock as well. And those out there among you who are listening to the show tonight, if you could do us a great big service and favor and definitely share the show, we would greatly appreciate that. We want to share it to everyone tonight because there's a lot of important things that need to be said and need to get out into the communities out there. A lot of them have to do with documentaries, one already out and one coming out. And in this aspect, we would like to bring in our very first guest here this evening, Mr. Wendell, Jordan Wendell. How are you doing this evening?
I am excellent. So happy to be a part of, the radio show. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thank you. It's greatly our honor. And I know that your time is valuable. So thank you so much. And I'm sure my colleagues would also like to thank you.
Absolutely, Wendell. I kind of let the cat out of the bag earlier by saying you were coming out. Everyone knew it. Everyone's been excited. Again, as I said on that message, thanks for taking the time out. It truly is an honor. And we got to speak before the show a little bit, and I know we could go all night. So again, thank you. Awesome honor.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Oh,
yeah, and definitely. So you have a documentary that is coming out in reference to fathers who are going through the movement right now. We know that there are a lot out there. There's a lot of women as well. And so we'll kind of touch on that aspect a little bit too. But obviously you've got this, and it's such a great title. And we talked about this earlier, but instead of Deadbeat Dads, the documentary's name is Beat Dead Dads, and it makes so much sense. And
absolutely,
yeah, and Wendell, we'd like to thank you for that because you are an actor out there, and you've been in a lot of different films, The Rights, The Creed, a lot of different films out there. And so you coming on board, being affected by this, where was the original inspiration for this documentary?
Well, one of the things that's amazing about this is, of course, it stems from the story of obviously being a father. And so I and my son had spent some time separate from each other because I had actually moved up to New York to try and make the acting thing happen for a while. And when I moved back, I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with him. And one summer, we actually got to spend about 2 months together, which was amazing. And so when we got done with that 2 months, my son then asked me if it was okay if he could split time, meaning that he wanted to do 2 weeks with his mom and 2 weeks with me. Right. And so, of course, I got extremely excited, jumped at the chance, and I said, well, I have to talk to my new wife. Let's talk to Melissa about it. So she said, absolutely no problem. And then we went and I said, buddy, but the thing is, we actually have to talk to your mom about it and see what she says. And so immediately when we went to her, her response was no. And so it's one of those things when you're kind of, shocked and hurt and kind of angry at the same time. And so, of course, my initial impetus was to just kind of run straight to the court and kind of figure out exactly what was happening and why, because I had never had any issues with my son. I was never abusive. There was never anything that was criminal that had unfolded between myself and my son. And so I just didn't really understand. I had always been there for him. So in terms of the follow-up, what I came to find was when I started just searching through the information and going to the courts myself, I just found there to be what I like to call a lack of father-friendly environments. It was hard for me to get the information. It was hard for me to find the individuals, and there was really a lack of help out there. And so in terms of who I needed to follow up with, people were kind of turning me to attorneys. And so, you know, unless you have that $2,500 to kind of give for that retainer, it's really a difficult situation that it kind of puts you in. And obviously, I'd rather put that $2,500 towards my son and his needs. And so as I continue to do more and more research, what I found was that it was the system, essentially, that made her make that choice. Because once I got 50% custody, that then meant that she would no longer receive any child support from me.
Right. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. It seems like from a lot of people's perspective is that we have a situation in an adversarial situation set up with the courts that unfortunately either the female or the male a lot of the times uses the child custody in order to gain a child support situation. Absolutely. And that's kind of where we sit and we lie. And why do you think that adversarial system still retains after 40 some odd years of going through this?
Well, part of it is that you got to follow the money. Mm-hmm. And so the thing about the court is, like you stated, it's a provider-dependent system. And so with it being a provider-dependent system, immediately when people are uncoupling, they're going through one of the worst periods in their life. And so essentially, the first thing they then have to do is jockey for position. So who is the provider and then who is the dependent? And then beyond that, they then begin a power struggle over their child. And so those two things, I think, put that conflict squarely in the court's crosshairs and allows the court to actually make more and more money, because the more filings that you actually are submitted to the court, the more money goes into the coffers for the court specifically.
Yeah, and what that ends up doing is the perpetual litigation that ends up happening, and I call it the Tom's Twister of family courts, because if you've ever been on one of those little Tom's Twisters, it's the perpetual motion that spins you to the outside. Yeah. Well, that's how exactly it is in the courtrooms, because once this thing starts turning around, what ends up happening is, unfortunately, the parent's relationship with the child who's in the middle of that ends up going way out.
Absolutely.
And that's what's unfortunate is once we allow the courts to put a price tag on our child's head, we lose out, because and the children lose out most of all, because they lose out on that relationship with a parent.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the most difficult things, because if your child isn't of a if your child is in the tender years or is in very, very, young and can't fully understand what's unfolding, it's really kind of hard for you to express to them the situation. And so there was a way that initially my son, when I started to explain the situation to him, I kind of had to be very, very careful, because I didn't want him to look at his mom in a negative way. Because again, I do believe that it's the system that kind of forces people to jockey for this position and not the actual individual, because it's just the way that the system has been set up for so long. And people kind of get used to that system. And so the way that it pits people against one another, you kind of have to fight against that and kind of, figure out what's best for your child again.
Right.
And
exactly.
Make sure that focus is what's important.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest aspect that I'd like to ask you about is the research and the development part that goes into making a documentary, because there's a lot of research behind the scenes that goes into a lot of these documentaries, and a lot of people Absolutely. Don't understand or know. It's not you just get in front of a camera and start rolling and asking people questions. There's a lot of in-depth research that happens, because pretty much, Wendell, and you can tell people right off the bat, basically here, when you're asking a question, a lot of the times you already know what the answer is, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, when I started this journey as a filmmaker, it totally changed me. And as most experiences typically do, because initially when I started out, it was more about trying to get myself work,
Yes.
more so than it was about actually trying to pick up a cause. But I then started to realize that if you actually have something to say, it's more important to your film. And it does a lot more for your drive to be able to continue to push forward when things aren't as simple and as positive as as they always could be. So one of the steps that I started to do was actually kind of follow through and kind of just talk to certain individuals. And one of the individuals that I first spoke to was Dr. Tori Evans Barton.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came to Atlanta, and it was a pretty amazing and eye-opening experience for me, because she was the first person that I met who fully understood what it was that men were actually kind of going through in trying to navigate the system. And being in Atlanta and me actually being in Maryland, obviously the laws vary per county, per state. And I didn't find that out until much, much later as well.
Yes.
And so it's very interesting because that's one of the things that I absolutely want to do with this project. We're initially kind of starting out in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Mm-hmm. And so obviously there are different counties in each of those states, but DC isn't a state. So it has its own laws unto itself. And it's actually one of the rarities where parents do have 50-50 kind of going in.
Yes.
That's pretty, that's a pretty amazing thing. And so I also found out, through Dr. Tori Evans Barton about legitimation, which I even had no idea existed, and found out that, was still something that even existed at this point. And so via the conversation with her, I then was able to make contact with the Circuit County Court judge, who then was kind of willing to speak to me on camera in terms of some of the laws and kind of just finding out the temperature of the court system and finding out all of these stereotypes that kind of go into the laws. And then I also spoke with some psychologists in reference to parental alienation.
Yes.
And so that is a big part of actually how some of these situations unfold, because when you are one parent who's jockeying for a position and it doesn't matter to you what your child thinks of the other parent, whether they're male or female, then you kind of start to shift a negative light on that parent, so that then that child can now back you rather than, having a balanced perspective when it comes to both parents.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And I would say I know for sure, Dr. Tori J, we've had her on the program before. She's an amazing guest, met her in person. She's just an amazing woman. And some of the things that she brings to light is things that, I've been in this movement for 10 years. And some of the things that she's taught me behind the scenes, I didn't know about, so you're always continuously learning in this movement. And that's a great thing about it.
Absolutely.
And we call it a movement, but I really think it's become much more of it needs to be much more of a community rather than a movement, because we need to start supporting each other a lot more. And we tend to get so wrapped up in moving and going out to reach other people that sometimes we leave some of the people behind that are going through these struggles every single day. And I like the fact that your inspirational video here that will come out, your documentary will actually be touching a lot of the fact that we've got dads that are going through these things, and it's such an adversarial system to where it's become an economic war, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's a war of color any longer. However, primarily, I think that there's a lot of things that the Caucasian people can definitely learn from the African American community, because this has been going on in the African American community for a very long time, where there hasn't been that type of justice. And so I think that result and that fact, again, we've talked about it on several different levels. We've talked about it on the fact that there are, when you take a father out of a custody role or a share parenting situation, you've got a situation where that child is much more likely to commit a violent crime. They're much more likely to have a teenage pregnancy. They're much more likely to have a teenage suicide. Those things are all happening, and we're seeing the results. We don't have to look any further than the south side of Chicago to see that.
Absolutely. Well, we also have to look to the prison industrial complex in terms of how fatherhood is treated in lower income communities, because people are over prosecuted. When we look at minorities and the system in which they're kind of pinned, and pushed into, there are always these negative images of fathers, and 9 times out of 10, or not 9 times out of 10, but a lot of times there is no example for fathers because, or for young men, because their fathers have been arrested for these minor crimes. And once the father then is now free to come out, somebody has either taken their place, or the child now feels like they're too old and don't need to be parented. And so there's a lot of kind of this power struggle that kind of happens, and we have to make sure that we kind of handle things very, very kind of carefully. And it's absolutely not just in minority communities; it's all the way around. So that's one of the things that I think that's very, very important. And again, even though this film is called Beat Dead Dads, I do look at moms as well, because we do speak to the idea that mothers are sometimes looked at in a negative light if they are not this Stepford wife, stay-at-home mom, and stereotype that films have kind of gotten us interested in and used to. And so if your mom works, then they absolutely look at her as a part of the problem, where she's not able to spend as much time with the child. But again, if we're dealing with low income or even mid-level income, at this point, people have to work to feed their children.
Exactly.
And so there's no way for us to kind of just point a finger and be negative in regards to that. And so again, that's why I come back to the idea of beat dead rather than having people be deadbeats, because it's not a thing where I don't believe that if you're a positive human being and you are attempting to kind of move your life in a positive direction, there's no way that you should be considered a deadbeat.
Or have your rights violated.
Absolutely.
And our children are what this country was founded on. So it is very important. But my daughters are actually all born in Georgia. I was in Savannah, Georgia, and I didn't find out about legitimacy until maybe about a year ago, I would say. And I've been in this fight for a long time. So there are different laws in the states, and it makes it so confusing for people, because nowadays people move. And I think that's all about the part of the bigger plan of how they know that they're going to keep on destroying us, because we're never going to catch up to everything that they're doing. Did you ever find out about the federal laws and the state laws? Like there's a thing called the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Act, which is a federal law. And it is supposed to actually guide what the states can do to you, every state. I was just asking you if you had knew what that was.
No, I didn't. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, Neely, I'm sure we'll send you some information on that. Obviously, and because there's a lot of different aspects, and we don't know all of them as lay people. That's the real problem here. Is we've got a system that's set up that basically you don't even really a lot of the times get heard in family court or DCF and CPS and in some of these probate courts because of the fact that you're trying to represent yourself pro se or pro per, depending on if that state allows it or not.
And a lot of lawyers won't tell you, attorneys won't tell you if they're trying to steal your money.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
They don't want you to know
Absolutely.
the truth about everything.
Right.
And that's why we're all coming together and we are going to defeat this beast, because that's what it is. It is a beast.
Absolutely.
And it has destroyed so many children. I come from a broken home. My mom took my dad's rights away when he was in jail over a DUI. And now I am 31 years old and I've been on a fight since 2010 against a paternal grandmother. So I'm on this for a purpose, and it's going to be defeated. We are coming together. We are.
For the first time ever, Wendell, I can definitely tell you, I know that there are several groups out there, Americans for Equal Share Parenting leading the way, but there are several groups out there. You know, Dr. Tori J has been working obviously with Americans for Equal Share Parenting too. And we kind of all work behind the scenes with our show, actually, of all things. But
I actually saw you guys at Capitals for Kids. I was actually at that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see you there, but you know what? There were so many people there, and I thought it was such a great time. What we saw there was the transformation, and I think it's starting to happen in all the other get-togethers that are going on. I say get-togethers because I don't want to necessarily say protests or anything like that. But what we're seeing is more people going to these events, dropping their egos at the door, and saying it doesn't matter what part of it or what group I'm in. What matters is, at the end of the day, bringing children home, because I love Wendell Jordan's children just as much as I love my own, and I want to see him reunited with his kid just as much as I want to see my own.
Absolutely.
That's what we're seeing more of, and that's that process. Now with your documentary that's coming out, I only see that as being a plus. I see that as reaching out to the community and getting out to the different communities that don't know about this.
Absolutely. And that's the thing about this film. I kind of wanted to be on a broader scale because I saw Divorce Corpse. And I actually took a look at Yahya's film, who was also at Capitals for Kids.
Yes.
And part of the issue is, well, not necessarily issue, but what I believe is that they're not being released on a broad enough scale.
Yeah.
So that's the step that I'm trying to take in terms of kind of bridging that gap, because I'd actually like to get this at the larger festivals. And so that's why I'm reaching out for funding, because what I'd like to do is actually get this to South by Southwest. I'd like to get this into Sundance. I'd like to get this into ABFF. So in terms of the larger film festivals, I'd like to seek distribution for the film. And then there's actually a rollout for a show that I'm trying to do. So beyond just the film, because 90 minutes, I wouldn't be able to tell the tale of 50 states in 90 minutes. And so essentially the idea is that I would do the 90-minute film, which would just be the jumping off point. And then I would do the Beat Dead Dad Chronicles, which would then be a show that we could either then pitch to Vice TV or HBO or Netflix. And that would actually go per state, per county.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. And that reaches a much larger group. I think the issue and the kickback that we see a lot of the time seems to be from the Bar Association. Have you felt any maybe repercussions or pushback yet from the Bar Association?
No, not just yet. I've been lucky. Part of it is what I find is that there are certain attorneys that are not willing to talk to me because they realize that this is a business for them. And if the story gets out there in the way that kind of shines this industry in a negative light, then they won't be making the money that they used to make.
Exactly.
Part of what I'm also looking at is I'd like to have somebody work with me on penning a bill where we look at the earnings of divorce lawyers and actually kind of either base, like, let's say cap that in terms of how much they're able to earn, and then have them do pro bono cases for individuals that actually need attorneys to help them. Right. Because I feel like law firms make, it being $1 billion industry, there's no reason why they couldn't be that balance that's created there in terms of attorneys that would be able to give pro bono help to the low income.
Right. And a lot of the times I do see some lawyers do it, and I see the way that I see them do it is as a tax write-off. Believe it or not. So I'm going to give you some free pro bono services, but I'm going to use this as a tax write-off, so that way I can reimburse all of the stuff that I've been spending all of the time, which I'm charging other people for anyway. Right. So it's interesting as well. And what I want to do right now, though, is let's go into playing a clip of your video here that you sent me on Beat Dead Dad, so everybody can see this great clip from the documentary.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I've spent $30,000 trying to have equal time with my son. I don't care if I get full custody. I want to be with my son.
The last time I saw him was a few months ago. Every day I'm worried about his safety and what's going through his mind.
Hi, my name is Wendell Jordan, and I'm the CEO of Legacy Media. We work on projects that have a community-based focus. This film is very close to my heart. It's called Beat Dead Dads. It's a documentary film in reference to the treatment of fathers who are navigating the court system in order to gain custody or to receive visitation of their children.
Family courts do not, by any means, equal both parents. I believe there are individuals, meaning judges, who are starting to see the light, but as a system, no way.
Is you go too far sometimes, and what now you've done is that now he's going to have a felony on his record.
In the men that I see, I think the one thing that we recognize, or that I have recognized in working with them, is that we just don't value their heart in being and their desire to wanting to be the best fathers that they can be. And that is the truth. Everything else is a lie.
What we're hoping to do is balance the scales just a bit.
The Supreme Court of the United States has been told us we cannot consider gender because there's no best interest factor that's directly connected and tied to the sex of a person.
Well, I'm just saying, if the child is legitimate, he's got every right just like you do.
Each parent has the right to be able to make decisions for the children. What non-custodial parents, which are typically fathers, do is allow the other parents to make decisions and then deal with whatever those decisions are.
Okay.
And what happens if you go to court and you have that kind of mentality, then for the non-custodial parent, which is typically the male, you've put yourself behind the 8 ball.
Fatherhood doesn't mean being perfect. It means being there.
Some judges aren't going to be your friend and walk you through the process. So it's not as easy, I guess, as it should be, but it's also something that is not impossible, and it shouldn't be a scary process.
Spend quality time with her. She can't talk and understand pretty much nothing, so all I can do is give her my unconditional love like I've been doing.
It's my responsibility to take care of her. I brought him in this world, I have to.
The men who, in spite of their financial circumstance, consistently work to have a positive impact on their children's lives.
So Keep Away Mom happens to be a mother who will do anything possible, and that means moving from state to state, across the country to another country, to keep a father away from the child, making sure that they have no access and no ability to build a relationship with that child.
Beat Dead Dads is a documentary that is about advocacy for fathers. If you believe in this topic, do give us your support.
Awesome. So that video there, wow. Definitely very powerful video just on that clip alone. And I'll tell you, we need to figure out a way to support you, because if we can get this into Sundance, obviously this is going to make a huge impact on what we do. And I think it's going to encourage some of these actors and actresses that are out there as well. Not to give the Far From Normal radio show a plug, but hey, maybe they might come on as well.
Jay Moss, I definitely appreciate you showing it, because that's one of the things I think that, like you said, bridging that gap is the most important part. And so me even being able to be on here and you taking the time to have me here, I truly and fully appreciate that. Because again, parenting is one of the things that bridges all gaps. No matter what color, no matter how much money you make, no matter how famous you are, we all love our kids. And so I think that's a gap that that absolutely needs to be bridged. And again, I appreciate you for doing more of that.
Well, definitely. Thank you so much for your time and coming on, because we greatly appreciate it. And I know that you've got a lot of things out there, and for you, you coming on, specifically being an actor, your time is very valuable, because you could be in an audition somewhere making some money. So we greatly appreciate that.
Well, he is, Jay. He is right now.
I am indeed.
Yeah. I want to echo Jay's comments. It's been great. And again, it's always, to me, head scratching when someone says, "Oh, I'm honored that you had me on." We're honored that you came on. I mean, we were excited. The only shame in it is the time goes by so fast.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
We always say too, there's so much more we can go over, and we will in the future. I hope you remember that we want to have you back on.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Anything to do with Beat Dead Dads, any sort of links that you want to share, feel free to email Neely, and she'll get them up. Anything that you want, we'll love. I'd love to share on a personal level and Far From Normal. We'd love to support anything you're doing.
And since I learned something today, I'm definitely going to tap you guys for more and more information. So know that I'll be reaching out.
Awesome.
Please do.
Awesome.
Be careful, sir, because Jay and I are up 24/7. Say, you want to say, message me anytime, because especially with me, ask Jay. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah. It's 2 a.m. and Bud's calling me, and he's like, "Okay, guys, I'm ready for the show." Okay.
And Jay knows. Sometimes I forget. Jay will say, "Bud, it's 2 a.m., right?" And not. Want to make sure everything's good.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you're right, Jay.
Yeah, and definitely we'll have you back on, because I know that there's other things that we definitely want to get in contact with you about, because I know I've already reached out to you and given you the personal number for Mr. Prentice Powell. So definitely get in contact with him. Great guy.
Absolutely.
Will
do.
I'm sure you'd like to be a part of it.
And as this develops, what's starting to happen now is I'm starting to bridge the gap with the professionalism of the piece. And so I've met a few individuals who work at the Discovery Channel. I've met a few individuals that work at HBO. And so these people are willing to kind of either donate their time or help me find what it is that I need to make this film look as good as it possibly can. Because again, the look is the thing when it comes to film. And and I think that will bridge that gap and allow us to get into those big film festivals and allow us to get that message out there.
Right. Definitely. We've got to hit the shock factor a little bit and bring people in to say, wow, I can't believe this is actually going on in our own country. And actually, I put something out, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I'll give you a little bit of preview of what we're going to talk about, because I said, if you know a news station and everything out there that you need to contact them on, they need to be watching the Far From Normal radio show tonight. Not just, we got Wendell and we've got Yahya, absolutely important. But we're going to talk about the 17 states that sue the Trump administration over family separations at the border. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and there's some things we're going to say that need to be said out there in public. So I want you to definitely stay tuned for that. It'll be in the second hour.
Okay. Absolutely. Wendell, I want to say, if your filmmaking drive is anything like your dedication to running and the way you take care of yourself physically, we are in for a treat. And I don't believe you'll be stopped. You're going to chisel that just like you do yourself. I'm excited to see it. We're behind you, brother. Keep rocking it. never stop until it's done. I have full faith that you won't.
Absolutely.
And I'm very interested in talking to you. I will be getting in contact with you. I know we don't have a lot of time, so a lot of things were on my mind about a couple more questions and tell you some things, but I know we're on a timeline, but
yeah, definitely. And we're going to get into it, obviously, here with you probably soon, and I'll try and get you back on as soon as we possibly can. And
Absolutely.
I know you're going to be working on that.
Yeah, I'll also make sure that my link is up for my Indiegogo and all of that, so that we can make sure that, we get everything in terms of the information and what's coming.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I was going to give you an opportunity here, if you wouldn't mind plugging that Indiegogo real quick, because that's important in getting funding for this documentary.
Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm in the middle of my relaunch. And so unfortunately, I don't have an Indiegogo link. But what I definitely would like people to do is to go to Legacy Media on Facebook, as well as at legacymedia.llc on Instagram. And so I'm doing YouTube updates weekly in terms of the interviews that I do. And so if you post, like, and share, that'll definitely get us to where we need to be.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again so much. We greatly appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Wendell.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank
Such
you.
a pleasure.
Awesome here. So Wendell Jordan, guys, he was awesome here in our first hour. And I'm going to say that was probably one of the most intense interviews as far as we've probably ever done, because of the fact that he's got a project. Not only does Yahya have a project, but definitely Wendell has a project that's going to change the way things are being looked at. It's no longer deadbeat dads, it's beat dead dads. And it's very important that we get that across, because I don't know about Neely or Bud or Pete or Mary Jane behind the scenes. I don't know if anybody else has seen this or not, but I've seen it at the driver's license bureaus in the state of Illinois, where they put up signs that say deadbeat dads pay your child support, blah 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 blah. Yes.
I ripped them down.
or your license will be taken away, blah blah blah. I've seen those. So understand that. Okay, if you take here's the logic in this. If you take a person's driver's license away, what job can they get?
Yeah.
Not very, it's counterproductive.
Or if you put them in jail, they still can't work. So nobody's winning here. So
no, exactly right. And so we need to pump the motivational factor up about 10 degrees, because of the fact that people are going through this, and say, hey, look, it doesn't matter what you're going through. And I think the biggest aspect that we need to get across to a lot of these legislators that we're dealing with is the fact that it's not about who, it's about how. And that's the biggest point. It's not about who's to blame for the problem that's going on in the country. It's not anybody's, who cares whose fault it is. It matters is, how do we fix it? How do we get it accomplished? And I think we have some real good people who are very focused right now. Wendell Jordan, Yahya McClain with his video. We've got Mark Ludwig and all of the other people out there that are very focused on how do we get this accomplished. We've got Chris Hallett, we've got John Gentry, we've got Kirk Pendergrass working on We the People versus the 50 States. That's empowering, because you're seeing people take action. Finally, we're seeing people take action. So awesome stuff that first hour, Bud. What do you think?
Well, Jay, first of all, I think you stole the word out of my mouth, powerful. That first interview, you prefaced the interview with that word, and I believe that's a very, very awesome description of what it was. And we say a lot, and I said at the end, it's just a shame we don't have more time, and we will. I spoke. It's awesome having these sort of people and making these connections on the show, and I know there's people that have watched the show that have made these sort of same connections. Chris Emmanuel last week, we emailed quickly back and forth. It's just awesome, these connections and these kinships. As we've said, and we said on the show again, this is an asexual problem. This doesn't discriminate in terms of gender, color, everything. We all bleed red. And we all hurt. We all hurt when our children are taken, or we're missing our children, or any sort of family court issue or that you've dealt with like that. So, again, awesome first guest, Jay. I know we have Yahya coming up in the second.
Right.
And it's going to be an awesome second half, just like it was the first. We're going to go out with a bang, just like we came in.
Yeah, definitely. And I would want to say here that I think the best thing to do right now is get into our second hour. So I know Neely had some things going on today quite a bit here. So I'm going to get in here real quick, and I'm going to read the calendar of events and everything for this evening. So we'll start that off right here. All right, here. So we're going to go ahead and get in real quickly here to the calendar of events for 6/26/18. And we've got June the 28th. This is the March for Family Rights in Martinez, California, 1 p.m. That's at 245 North Court Street in Waterford Park, Martinez, California. So please see the PAC for more details. June the 30th, Keep Families Together. That is Saturday, and that's at Oklahoma State Capitol. 1 p.m. 1 p.m. That's going to be at North Lincoln Boulevard, room 101, 2300 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. June the 28th. That will be the March for Family Rights as well in Martinez, California. Please see Michelle Chan for more details. July the 2nd will be the Million Parent March of 2018, which will be on a Monday, 9 a.m., Columbus Circle, Washington, D.C. Please see Eric Sinderman for more details. August the 5th, ESP, which is Americans for Equal Share Parenting, will host an event in Colorado. I believe Philly Slim's in charge of that event right now here, but definitely see Americans for Equal Share Parenting on that. I believe it's being held on a Sunday at 6 p.m. in Denver, Colorado. That's the Capitals for Kids Tour event. Also, September the 12th, Americans for Equal Share Parenting Texas Capitals for Kids in Austin. That'll be on a Wednesday night, 6 p.m. in Austin, Texas. See Americans for Equal Share Parenting for more details. Also, September the 26th will be Capitals for Kids in New Hampshire. That'll be at Concord. So Wednesday,
they say Kankid in Boston.
Kankid.
Or up here too.
Yeah.
Kankid.
Yeah, definitely. And so that will be held in New Hampshire. That will be Wednesday at 5 p.m. on September the 26th. So see Americans for Equal Share Parenting for more details. We will have a longer list of those Americans for Equal Share Parenting events that are coming on the tour very, very shortly, but they're off in the future after September. So we'll bring you those as they draw closer. So birthdays, we're going to go ahead and get into it with Miss Diane Lyons, Brad Chalmers, Lauren Hayden, Vanessa Wood, Michelle Jones, Kevin O'Hara, and Warren Farrell. Wednesday, Juliet Jam Murillo, Simon Cobb, Grace Moore, Amanda Waters. Thursday, our good buddy there, Mark Ludwig, celebrating a birthday. Brooke Lynn, Joanna Benson, Laura Gibson, Dawn Peterson, Brad Watts, Jackson Robinson. Friday, Tammy Led, Katharina Davis, Nicole Charlotte, Louis DeVault, Louis Brown, and David Markoff and Robert Sammons. Saturday will be Christina Esco, I believe it's Christina Esco, Tina Milo, Steven Soto, Jennifer Celia, Tanya Henson, June Clemens, Joan Stiller, Kevin Ottman. Saturday will be Straussy Hart, Jessica Moore, Brian Bolson, Kim Leesenby, Joseph Powell. Monday will be James Kelly, Michelle Capps, Charles Copa, Patty Jones, Melissa Whited, Tom Kofel, Joe Jensen, and Charlie Smith. The Far From Normal radio show is copywritten, and copying or transcription of the broadcast is strictly prohibited without the express written consent of the Far From Normal radio show staff and board of directors. So happy birthday to all of those out there.
Happiest of birthdays from the Far From Normal radio show to all of you. Your birthday is your day. It's the day that you bless the world with you being in it. So make it your day. Do something special for yourself. Jay, a masterful first half and a masterful job reading those. I love it. Jay and I are behind the scenes after we always rib each other about how gracefully we get through the tough names. Some big names out there, Jay. Mark Ludwig, Diane Lyons. I know Simon Cobb of Papa fame. Yeah, there's a lot of big names out there, people doing great things. Keep up the great work. Mr. Ludwig, I love you. Had a nice conversation with Mr. Ludwig yesterday where I learned something new, that Bud is not always right about everything. It's different things. So, and again, it was great. It was honestly an awesome conversation. Jay knows that too. And Neely does as well. So Neely, looking good. Is that, let me look at that background. Your background looks so cathartic, Neely.
It kind of feel good, actually, real good. So
you look good. Good. You look at
travel sometimes to do my shows because I'm not, I'm like all
right now. You're a mover and a shaker, Neely.
Yes.
Neely, you're the power forward. You're a mover and a shaker.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I'm behind the scenes too last night on our pre-show. Let everybody in, Neely, and we all looked like such spanked ass when we got on to the meeting, and we were all so tired. It was funny. I said, if we went on right now, people wouldn't even, we were just all absolutely wiped, every one of us. It's nice to see us on the show. We have I think too, I want to say, guys, before we get rolling, Neely and Jay and I on a personal level, we had a kind of a private conversation that was kind of nothing to do with the show. And I think we really got to know each other a little bit better this week in terms of a personal level. We shared some tears and some pain, and it really, I loved it. I thank you guys for that. And I thought about the show and how we always talk about the support system. I said, man, am I blessed that I have someone like Jay, someone like Neely that I could get choked up with. And Neely and I could feel, and Jay could all feel each other. And there was a genuine love and support there. And so I encourage everybody. It's beyond necessary. I say all the time, eliminate the toxicity and go with genuine support. We know in our hearts who the people are that are down for us and with us. Stay with that. Stay with people that respect you. Teach people how to treat you, Jay.
Right. And that's exactly right. And I know that normally we would probably have Yahya come on here, but I think he's a little bit late, but that's okay. We'll roll with this for right now. I will say this. We will get into this very, very shortly because the 17 states, right now, there's 17 states that are suing the Trump administration over family separations. And this all has to do with issues at the border. And I believe it has to do with New Jersey Attorney General W.A.R, I believe, in the article. Every day it seems like the administration is issuing new contradictory policies and relying on new contradictory justifications, but we cannot forget the lives of the real people hang in the balance. Immigration authorities have separated about 2,300 children from their parents in recent weeks. So it goes on to say that these states are Massachusetts, California, Delaware, Iowa, Illinois, Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington. And if you will live in one of those states, you right now should be contacting your governor. You should be contacting your legislator and telling them, what about American citizens who have put up with this for the last 40 years? What about your children? Not about children that are at the border. What about you as a citizen of the United States of America? You wanted to know where the Far From Home radio show stood on this? Well, here's where we stand on this. And we'll say it in as plain as English as we can. If you're asking to create a law, especially for immigrants who are not citizens of the United States, but yet you cannot defend those who are Americans in the United States, we've got an issue here. So that's where we stand on this real quick, and we'll get into that a little bit real quick here. But I'm going to go ahead and bring in right now, obviously, Mr. Yep, I've got him in, and here it is right now.
Ding, 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 ding.
The champ is here. The champ is here. Awesome. So, Mr. Yahya McClain, how are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm outstanding. How about yourself?
Awesome.
Jay,
Awesome.
I have to do this, Yahya. Let's get ready to rumble. Yahya, thanks for joining us.
Hey, man, you gonna get sued. You better shut up.
I know Michael Buffer's gonna sue me, right? That's Michael Buffer's gonna come after me, right, Yahya?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and I know that your time is precious as well because you're working on you've moved on, obviously, from the documentary that you did with producing Casualties of War, Warriors in the Regime, but you moved on to doing other documentaries as well. Thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
No, man, I'm still focusing on the same documentary.
Are you?
Nah, man, I'm still focusing right here. Why, have you heard that it's parental equality going around the world right now or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you heard that I can see my son?
Hey, you can see your son now?
No.
I did see your...
I said, have you heard that I can see my son? Because if not, I'm still fighting.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
And even after, I'll still be fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the post you put in too, and it was in reference. It kind of referred to what Jay mentioned in the second half when we started talking about everything that's going on in the world right now in terms of children at the border. I believe it referred to you and not seeing your child.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to speak on that, I know you're one of the gentlemen that has done so much and is so well known. And Jay said too. He said with Yahya, he's done so many of these. And so we're so honored to have you on because, again, you're entertaining. I used to watch your shows when I first got into this, to be very candid with you, when you'd sit down and you had the booth and everything. And I believe you were with Billy. And I dug that because it was kind of alpha, you know, and I felt comfortable in that. I was like, wow, this is okay to be like this. It's okay to be a man. It's okay to speak from your heart too and also be tough. So. Awesome. Thank you for being an inspiration to myself, and I know countless others out there.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. And trust me, all of you guys inspired me as well. Like, when I got into this, just like everyone else, I had no idea. And, you know, I always start off every conversation with the same introduction, and that is, I'm from New York City, a rough neighborhood in Jamaica, Queens. So rough that my father was killed in Jamaica, Queens when I was 3 years old, which left my mother to raise 3 boys all alone. I'm also a Marine. I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. And I'm a former 2-time world champion boxer. And I've had more street fights and been involved in more shootouts than one could imagine. So to say it quite frankly, I've been fighting all of my life. But the battle that we are all losing in the family law court system across America is by far the hardest fight I've ever been involved in.
Yeah. That tells you a lot, obviously, on why you were so instrumental as being a part of obviously doing a documentary. And I know that you had already had talked about that you had already had pretty much a script written for a movie, but you obviously decided the documentary role was probably going to be the better route, so you can get the facts out there, correct?
Well, that's what I thought. But now, after having the documentary done, having advertised and marketed and trying to get people to watch the documentary, I see that I need to put the medicine in the candy.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to go back with this film.
Yes.
And I'm going to continue to push the documentary, but the film is definitely going to take it to the next level. So I will, and I have been working on that now.
Awesome. That's great. And I can't wait to roll that out, obviously.
And I totally went away from the point that I was supposed to be talking about, and that was, the Border Patrol.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it without empathy or sympathy for those children and parents that are going through it. However, charity starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to take care of anyone, we need to take care of our own first.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. We don't even have it together here. My name's Neely, by the way.
Hey, what's happening, Neely?
I don't know who you are. I've never seen your doc. So I'm totally don't understand what Bud's saying from the beginning.
That's right. I learned a term, Neely. My youngest son is into Minecraft. I guess noob means somebody new in the post. So you're sounding like a noob right now. Yeah. It's like the Godfather. Neely, come on. This just adds a little drama to the show. We learn something new every day, Neely. So Mrs. Neely, the power forward Petrie. So here's the introduction. There's part of that networking you talked about, Jay.
Yeah. And it's all about connecting people, because some people may not have heard of Yahya, because some people may, and especially females, may not be into boxing. But let me tell you something. When you see
the good ones are.
when you see this, and I'm going to preference the best way this way, because I think it's the most obvious way to bring this about. I'm going to go ahead and I'll play a clip real quick from the documentary here. Just an amazing documentary. So I'll play this clip for you guys, and so you can see this documentary in its fullest and its finest.
Not yet, all the way.
I don't need the system to help me raise my children. I have 6 children. I've raised 2 of them are adults now. I did a great job and raised them myself pretty much. Their mom did what she had to do to help out, but she didn't allow the system to come in and force me to raise my own kids.
Casualties of war, warriors against the regime.
My daughter died. No one told me. And her mother still collected child support.
She dug her fingernails into my arms, which her fingernails were like this long.
Let's go, Sarah. Come on, sweetie. Yeah, I understand, sweetie.
I know a lot of you are going through the very same things that I'm going through right now.
I spent 15 years in prison because I didn't have my biological father there to influence.
Anything you want to say? You're being accused of shooting a cop, killing him.
Society not letting me see my son. I lashed out at somebody that didn't deserve it. 85% of youths in prison were raised by single moms.
I haven't seen my son since November.
Like I said, I got one I ain't seen in 15 years.
I haven't seen my kids since December 2013.
I've been on house arrest for 2 years now for wanting to be in my daughter's life and being a father.
My firm represents men in family law matters. Been doing this since 2009, and I started the Isaac Law Firm because there's a huge need for good ethical representation of men in divorces.
This doesn't just happen to men, this also happens to women. Mothers are alienated as well.
I'm personally a victim of a corrupt family law system.
They're being told by their father that your mother don't want you. She abandoned you. Do you know what this is doing to my children?
Courts have a financial incentive to take our children from us, to take us as parents, most often fathers, but also mothers. They reduce us down to visitors to justify child support order. And when they justify child support order, the state then receives federal funding through what's known as Title 4D of the Social Security Act.
When the ball stopped bouncing, she finally had enough.
As President of the United States, I will do everything I can to address this inequality that impacts those.
Casualties of war. Warriors against the regime.
Awesome. So you can definitely see there an amazing documentary, and it's very eye-catching, number one. Number two, it gets the facts out there that we're seeing with Title 4D and the appropriations that are out there. The important things that we need to get out there. And Yahya, I know that you obviously gave a speech in DC. It was very touching. And I know that you're a big supporter of Americans for Equal Share Parenting as well. What would it mean to Yahya McClain to have time with his son?
It would mean the world, man. It would mean the world to me, you know. Yeah. Like you said, I broke down in DC. Mm-hmm. That happens damn near every time I see a commercial with a father and son. When I see, I mean, everything, man, you know, that happens frequently. So right. It would mean the world to me.
Right.
Well,
well go ahead.
Jay, if I could, I'm not, this isn't some ground statement, but the importance for both daughters and sons, but a son, the same-sex parent is the most important parent in a child's life. I'm not saying that mothers, fathers are any less important, but the things that you've experienced in life, Yahya, your son, I mean, it is the things you've experienced would be such a benefit for your son to know, and he will. I know from my stepdad, he was like my father. He passed away in 2010. The best memories and the most experiences that I took from him or from the dirt that he did, that he told me about, what to look for, what to watch out for as a man, what not to be scammed by. He was very much an old-fashioned sort of a guy. I know he's getting a kick out of me from up above. He was much more soft-spoken, but he got a kick out of me. But he also, it would drive him crazy sometimes because he was very old-fashioned like that. But I know, for me, this is just a step. You know, I say just a stepfather. For me, this was my dad. But my point is, it's so important. The things I took away as a man, how to be a man, how to look someone in the eye when you're talking to him. If you have a problem, say it. Do what's in your heart. Don't back down from fear. And I know both my parents left. This isn't a woe is me thing. But my point is, that sort of foundation that my stepdad laid for me was monumental in who I am today. And if I didn't have that male role model, go ahead, Yahya. And it's so important.
Yeah.
That is absolutely what I'm afraid of. Because, again, I go back to the documentary. If you watch the documentary, which people go right to the movie, but if you watch the documentary, you will see that the majority of America's social ills are due to fatherless homes. And you will see that there's a guy that was in jail for murder. And he openly says that if his father was in his life, those things would have never happened.
Yeah, and I think that that's true because, I mean, and especially when you're looking at it from your perspective and where you're at. I mean, you're a two-time world boxing heavyweight champion of the world. You are a former Marine. You have gone through these things, and you have been trusted. And actually, you've not only been trusted as being the former heavyweight champion, but you have
cruiserweight, not heavyweight champion. Cruiserweight.
Cruiserweight, yeah, cruiserweight champion. My fault. But you have trained a very, let's say, the most important, influential woman's boxer of all time. So if you can train someone like that, how are you not a responsible parent? I just don't see it.
Well, I mean, the thing is this. I've been training kids since I retired. Mm-hmm. I retired in 99. I opened my first gym in 2000. And I had a nonprofit called the Absolute Awareness Foundation that fights obesity and bullies through boxing and education. Mm-hmm. I used to have professors from UNLV come over to my gym and tutor the kids. We would teach them about nutrition. We teach them about boxing. I had a kid that was a bully, and we taught him how to box, and he stopped being a bully. I had a kid that was being bullied. We taught him about boxing and gave him some backbone, and he stopped being bullied. So, and I've been doing the same thing in Atlanta, and all of my life I've been around the youth and teaching and educating them. And because I didn't have a father, I know just how much it means to have someone that you can count on and you can really depend on. Like for me, my boxing guru was Roger Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that Roger said, I believed. And this is how much it weighed on me. I had an amateur fight against a guy named Carlos Escarate. Carlos beat me in the amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up in Vegas, Carlos became one of those bad kids and, troubled kids, whatever, and was in gangs. And we actually started having lots of street fights. And I remember one time we had a street fight and I was holding this dude in a headlock and my boy was punching him and couldn't hurt Carlos. Hurt him. And later on, Carlos and his gang, they shot my older brother. We were playing football one day and they shot my older brother. They didn't kill him. I'm sorry, it's storming out and my dog's going crazy. But he shot my brother, and fast forward years later, I'm in the boxing gym and I hear this promoter saying we need an opponent for Carlos. Now, mind you, I turned pro at 168. Carlos turned pro at 190, so he well outweighed me.
Right.
But when I heard that guy say that he needed an opponent, I was like, I want to fight him. So he was, the promoter was like, no, you can't fight him. And Roger Mayweather was my trainer. And Roger said, if he wants to fight him, we'll fight him. He can beat him.
Right.
Quick, speed this thing up. I broke my hand 2 weeks before the fight. And I told Roger I was going to pull out. And Roger's like, man, and everyone, Roger Mayweather is Floyd Mayweather's uncle and his trainer. One of Floyd. And Roger goes, man, skip that shit. We're going to box that bitch. You box that bitch. We slap him to death with that jab.
Right.
You going to still fight. So I was like, nah, man, I can't fight this dude. I lost too many amateurs. We couldn't hurt him when we jumped him in the streets. I ain't fighting this dude with one hand. You crazy.
Right.
We get to the press conference and Roger goes, hey, I'm supposed to be training 2 fighters because he was training his brother Jeff also. And he gets at the press conference in front of everybody. And he goes, I'm only training 1 fighter. You know why? Yahya McClain's a chicken. And I said, oh, no. I said, all right, no, what are you talking about, Roger? You want me to fight the guy? I'm fighting him. So I took the fight. And the second round, I broke my right hand. I was beating the guy. I was hitting him. I broke my left hand. I was hitting him with the jab, and he bent his head down, and I hit him with a hook on top of his head, and I broke my left hand. So I go back to the corner, I'm like, yo, Roger, you got to stop the fight. I can't beat this dude, man. I got 2 broken hands. Roger said, man, skip that. We're going to slap that bitch to death. We're going to slap that bitch to death.
Right.
I said, all right. I went back out for 2 more rounds and did what Roger said, and I won the fight. But I said that story only to say that that's how influential Roger Mayweather is to me and has been to me. And that has been the male role model in my life. Right. As far as boxing was concerned. So that power that he gave me by telling me that I can do it is something that I definitely have to have for my son. And I don't want it coming from any other man because thank God I'm right here. And I pray that I stay here so that I'm able to be that voice and that power for my son.
Right. And I think that that's the case because I know I've experienced it as well. When I get some custody with my kids and I fought very, very hard to get it. But I know the aspect came across and Bud and Neely and all of us kind of got a little bit of emotional about the whole factor because I think my son actually this weekend had mentioned because I think for 10 years going through this, I think he's been kind of brainwashed to believe and think something that probably is not true. So he said to me, why can't you be satisfied with what you're getting, which is 1 night a week and every other weekend? And I said to him, point blank, I said to him, was Rosa Parks satisfied with sitting at the back of the bus? Was Martin Luther King Jr. satisfied with the fact of inequality that was going on within the world? If he was satisfied, nothing would have ever happened. So we've got to be not satisfied, not complacent, because if we get to that point, son, you're going to have to go through the same struggles that I had to go through. and that's not what I want for you. And I think that really got to him. I think he swelled up with tears and understood why it was that I was fighting for all of these people for so long. And I think, and I hope for you the same thing, that you'll get that opportunity at some point, because I know that your son's gotta want to be in your life. I mean, that's just a normal thing. Like Bud says all the time, it's a love thing, and love is innate and hate is taught.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that the relationship I have with my son, we're super tight. So I'm not worried about that. I just worry about the mental effects. I remember, that's my concern. I'm not really, I mean, although I pray every day that my son continues to love me and our bond remains tight, I'm really more concerned with his well-being.
Yeah.
Right, definitely. And
same thing right now. So I'm dealing with the same thing with my daughter. So I've been on a fight since 2010. I haven't seen her since 2013, but it's my firstborn daughter, and we have a problem here. Think about what I've done. I haven't cried as much as I should because I've been fighting so hard, and I felt like bad, like because she's going through more than I'm going through. So how can I be selfish and cry and I just haven't. I just haven't done that. I wanted to cry, when I'm with her and I'm reunited with her finally. But it's we have a big problem. They want you to fight. They want race wars, they want class wars, they want religious wars, they want political wars, and it should be for God and for country, for our country. Stay strong, stay together. And with this immigrant, we can back up to talk about that. Why are these people not taking care of us and our family?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the other aspect in that that I want to get into a little bit as well. I know we're always short on time, but I want to get on as well when we talk about the immigrant thing. Obviously, what seems to be and we talked about this a little bit. What seems to be the answer here that I'm seeing is Yahya, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here. If we're gonna have a law and we're gonna say we're gonna protect immigrant families and we're gonna keep them together, why is there not a law protecting the American citizens and keeping families together?
Well, you know what I'm hoping for? I'm hoping that once they pass this law, that we can now use that as case law.
Right.
And take it right into court and get the exact same thing done, because that's exactly what it is. And I don't think that they can be biased because to immigrants.
Right. Right. And I mean, if you've got an American citizen and you're giving them less rights, or how should I say this? Because your rights are unalienable, so really they can't take away your rights, but they are taking away your rights in the family court. So I'll probably say this in this way: they're ignoring the citizens' rights, but they're giving a non-citizen, an immigrant, more rights than they're giving or allowing the citizen to express. If that's the issue and that's the problem that they're seeking, what we're doing literally, if I'm right, Yahya, is we're giving away the country. Is that right?
Well, you are right. And the problem is that the United States government is the biggest bullies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They are the biggest bullies in the world because they do exactly what they want to do. They don't care what the laws are, especially dealing with this family law stuff. There are no rules. There's no perjury. There's nothing. I mean, they do exactly what they want to do. They're straight bullies.
Yeah, I completely agree.
That's why it takes the masses. So, like, when we all that are going through this are crying and fighting and shouting about it, it falls on deaf ears.
Exactly.
But we get the people that don't have a dog in the fight to start standing up with us, to start speaking out, to stop paying bills, to stop, supporting these campaigns, to stop putting these politicians in office that's when we start making some change. And the only way that happens is by awareness. People have to open their eyes and start paying attention. That's the main reason that I did the documentary. You know, along the fact that it was also therapy for me. I learned a lot doing it, and it saved me a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Although I still went through a lot of it, and definitely saved me mentally. But the documentary is I mean, it's a great tool to educate people. So that was my main reason for doing it. And again, I'm just going to tell everyone to go watch it. Casualties of War, themovie.com. That's the website where you can watch it. $5 is all it costs. Casualties of War, themovie.com. And trust me, the $5 is only going back to recoup some of the money that I spent over the last 3 years doing the documentary, but also to support me, to allow me to continue to travel and to go places and to fight and to speak on behalf of all of us that, you know, that sometimes don't have a voice.
Right. And that takes a lot too. Obviously, when you're trying to get a lot of your, you know, your documentary into, you know, like we talked about with Wendell earlier, you're trying to get your documentary into a place like, you know, Sundance and some of those places. You got to pay some pretty exorbitant fees to get your movies into those places.
Some of them are $100 bucks or $150 to be told no, because they don't want to go against the government.
And it's absolutely atrocious sometimes. But I know that you worked a lot like we started out, obviously on the Future of Our Children's Radio Network too. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, because obviously when you started that with Neil Shelton and Randy Davis and Dominique Tomasello, and then I think you were probably one of the next shows to come on, and we came on after you, obviously. So we're kind of in that generational field. So we greatly respected what you did on that. Or is that ever a thought in your mind to come back to radio a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just became such a task because I was on the road so much with the documentary, and then I went into, you know, initially I set out to raise money to have this professionally edited by, you know, by the bigwigs. And when that fell short, because everyone that knows about this and everyone that wants to support this is growing through this, so they really don't have the funds to donate. So I didn't even raise any money. So therefore, you know, I went to school for this, so I was able to edit it and do it myself with a little help from my friends. But that became such a chore and such a task that the radio show was just, you know, it was just me. It was just me on the radio show. And Neil Shelton, that's my dog. I love that. And he, you know, he gave me carte blanche with the blog talk and allowed me to do that. And Randy, you know, there's some great guys and they helped me a lot. But every week I got to book the show. It was just too much. However, lately I've been, you know, thinking about it, and you know, I don't know if I'm going to do a weekly show again. It's a lot. It is. But I like talking on your show. You guys got a great show, and you guys been doing your thing. And I want to, first of all, I am remiss if I didn't thank you all for having me on your show.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Because you guys travel around. You guys travel around doing your thing, you know, just like I have. So you guys are definitely in it with me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and definitely anytime. And I know that Bud will definitely reflect this as well, because I know with being with that background, you've already got a background in this. You know, if any way possible that you want to start that back up, we'll definitely help in any way that we can and support that and get that back up and rolling, because some of the guests that you brought on are former heavyweight champions of the world, and some of these people that we need to reach out to and have them get out and have more voice. Yeah.
Jay, what do I say, Jay, behind the scenes? We got to bring in those heavy hitters, Jay. Who heavier? Who heavier than the Godfather? And I'll say this too, Jay. Yahya brought up Mr. Shelton and Randy Davis. First of all, I just want to give a little wink to Randy. Rev it up, baby. And Mr. Shelton too. They empowered Jay and I when we started this almost a couple of years ago. They kind of gave us that same sort of freedom. They trusted in us. They knew us well enough. They said, guys, go out and do your thing. And that there was a lot to be said for that, because Jay and I had that platform and we were given that sort of authority by people that were respected. And it's funny because here you are. I used to watch your show and I would kind of get inspired, say, look at this guy, man. I wonder if I ever get to that level. Here you are complimenting us. I mean, I can't tell you how flattered I am. And I know I speak for Jay in that. And Jay and I are on that same wavelength. Sometimes it's telepathic. Jay and I are like Friday the 13th, part 7. We can use our minds. I know what he's thinking. The wheels are always turning for Money Moss, my boy Money.
Yeah. And bringing Neely on board.
Hey, who's Neely? I don't know who she is. I never heard of her. I don't know her.
You've never heard of Neely, the Power Forward teacher? Where have you been?
I've just been a fighter, to be honest with you. I've been fighting this for a long time. I'm very sorry where we're at right now. Or everything. I feel like God's led me on a different path. We've all been on different paths.
Right.
I truly believe that time is now. In the Constitution, it says we were allowed to limit government. Right. You see, that's what everyone's missing. So what we are trying to do, what I'm trying to do, is equalize the practice of law. You got to think about this. We've been bankrupt for 200 years. Right. We were bankrupt because of bad politicians that got in there that cared more about their money than they did everybody else. Right. And we're like a business, so I am hopeful, and I feel like big things are happening. And God has heard our cries. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't want to, couldn't get into my story. It's way too long. But I would love to share it with you. I would love to talk after, I was just saying today that on my Facebook, I haven't even really told anybody my story, but it's going to be in His perfect timing. You see?
Well, when I start my show back, you'll be the first guest on. Wow, there you go.
There you go.
There we go. Bang. So you guys heard it here first. FFN, the FFN family. We'll be stepping into the ring, but we are not going to be going against you. I'm 43 years old, and I've been in the Bronx, but I'm not getting my 42-year-old ass knocked out. Forget that. No way. I got to save some face.
Yeah, and definitely I know that you've been hooking up with several people, obviously, and I know Philly Slim. Obviously, you hooked up with him to do the audio track, and that was great. Obviously, I know that there's going to be more heavy hitters out there. We already heard from Crew, who's been on as well the show, and I think that there's going to be some more heavy hitters. I've heard several different rumors about some heavy hitters that are going to be coming out with some albums that deal specifically with child issues or the family courts or DCF issues. So as soon as those become available to us, we're going to let you know on that as well, because if future documentaries or movies come about, obviously soundtrack's got to be a part of that.
Yeah, there has been a lot of names. This thing is really hitting the mainstream right now. The ones that thought they were untouchable have been touched, and it's really going to be it's starting to get out. It's starting to get out, and unfortunately, we needed that. We need these big names and these celebrities to start speaking out.
Yes, absolutely here. So I know we're going to wrap up our time with you. Obviously, I want to definitely thank you so much for coming on, man. We greatly appreciate you. We love you, brother. And anything that we can do to help you in the future, either get the radio show up or the movie production, we'll send Pete McNeil over to be in the movie. We'll get him off the milk curtain for you.
Pete's been off the air. We still told him he's going to do the grunt work. He's going to work his way back in. He's been away from us. It's like a relationship. He has to court us again.
Yeah, we'll be getting. We'll send him over to get you some coffees there, Yahya.
There you go. Send it back.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, you gotta taste it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I tasted it a few times. Tell him no, not sweet enough. Not sweet enough. You go back. Yeah, Mr. McClain, thank you. It's obviously, it's been a pleasure. We can't wait to be on with you and have you on again. Again, as Jay said, I'll concur. Anything we can do, please reach out.
Yeah,
Thank you for all
I
that you
appreciate
do.
it. And you guys, like I always say, keep your hands up and stay on your feet. And to anyone out there that's listening that may have any doubts or any bad thoughts that are thinking about committing suicide, I always tell you to please do this. Repeat after me. I, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Yahya McClain.
Yahya McClain. No, I'm just.
Bud Veno.
I, Yahya McClain, will never commit suicide.
We'll never commit
Never
suicide.
commit suicide, baby. Awesome.
I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but man, it's real.
It's a lot.
It is. It was nice to meet. It was nice to meet you. Tomorrow, I don't. We're friends on Facebook. I'm going live, y'all. I didn't tell Jay and Bud this, but I got a story and things have been working, for me. And I am gonna do an interview myself tomorrow because I gotta light it up a little bit. So,
There you go. Get out there and let that story be told.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys take it easy, man.
Yeah, you as well.
Thank you, champ. Have a good night. Stay safe, brother. Thank you.
All right. Keep your hands up.
All right, so Yahya McClain, awesome. So we have had two for the price of one documentary filmmakers tonight on the Far From Normal radio show, and let me tell you something, both of them outstanding, fantastic, phenomenal, and about ready to, what was that Mama said?
Knock you out.
That's
Jay,
right.
How do we keep doing it, my brother Money Moss? How do we keep doing it? It keeps getting better and better and more fun. The energy is building. As Yahya said, Neely has said that before, that we're starting, not even starting, we're bringing these issues to light. There's so many warriors out there, men and women. We mentioned some, we haven't, and we will, I'm sure, in the future. Others, there's some we haven't even heard of yet, we don't even know of. There's so many out there. It's building. The brother and sisterhood is building. Mothers and fathers are saying no more. We're going to do what's right. Exactly. No more. Let's do it, baby. No more offing yourselves. No more of that. As I tell people all the time, it's time to put your hands on the sink, look in the mirror, and keep saying your name and remembering who you are, and not letting anyone stick a finger in your face, baby. Don't let them do that. Stand up for what's right, Jay.
That's right. That's amazing stuff, because I'm telling you right now, there are so many people that go through this movement, and some of those that you saw in that last documentary who unfortunately are no longer with us. And I can tell you this from in all actualities, one of those persons in particular was one of the reasons why we took this show in the first place. And that is being Dominique Tomasello, and we miss him. We love you, brother. And let me tell you something, the Far From Normal radio show probably would not have been without Dominique Tomasello. And it drove us in that direction. And we're so thankful and grateful for the opportunities that we've had. We'll continue to have, and we're going to continue to push the issues very, very hard, especially this particular issue. When we're talking about 17 states, 17. This isn't one state or two states. This is 17 states that sue the Trump administration over family separations at the border, when they're not even protecting the families out here in the United States of those people who are citizens. We've got an issue. We've got a problem, and we're going to take care of this right here, because I'm going to tell you, if you see the Far From Normal radio show right now, get this information to ABC, NBC, CBS, whoever it takes, because I'm going to tell you this, if you've got an issue and you've got a problem that you are not taking care of the American citizens, but you're giving more rights to immigrants, people who are not citizens, do you look at this? Do you take care of and do you put food on the table for your neighbors while your children sit there and starve to death? No. You take care of your own first. You take care of what's going on here in America first. And if you've got a problem or an issue with that, then take it up with the Constitution of the United States and our founding fathers. Just a thought. So
go try living in another country for a week and see if you can handle it. You
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
I'll preface. I know we all want to clarify. First of all, I see there's a meme that is out there too, and I've heard before. The fact that we have to clarify that any lives matter, it should be of greater concern. So, and none of us here at FFN are saying that any children are more or less important. Of course, it's heartbreaking. But what Jay's bringing light to is that, and what I've seen too, and I've got to go right with it too. I'd love to see the same sort of passion for children that are ripped from the arms of loving, capable parents that I've seen here in the country before this happened. I don't see the sort of outcry. I see these people at the White House. I'm sorry, a lot of these sheep that are led by our so wonderful media that will feed you what they want you to believe. And I'll tell you this right now, Jay. It's disgusting because what they do is they play on people's emotions, and again, they're showing that they believe that certain lives are more important. And the problem that Americans are having that are having their children away is they're saying, wait a minute, why is it that, as Neely said and Jay said, that we're not as important in our own country? And a lot of people feel slighted. And I can totally, as I say, Jay, sympathize, empathize, all sort of sizes with everybody out there because again, all lives matter. It's deplorable on any level. Again, this is a bipartisan sort of issue in my mind, although some people would like to make it a divide. Again, this is a human rights issue. It's deplorable on any level, but it's just as disgusting. And again, a lot of parents don't feel heard in this country that the same sort of outrage isn't expressed when the same videos have been seen of American children and parents being ripped apart. Again, we're not talking about the situations where the children should be removed for safety issues. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the issues where we know it, although some people would like to deny, that never happens, where children is taken and sold in this country. Oh my God, not my next door, not my neighborhood, right? Not me. No way.
Doors. I mean, literally, we're at a point where people don't even know their neighbors.
Right.
Go walk to if you don't know your neighbor right now, I'm telling you, go knock on the door and go meet them. That's what I would like all the viewers to do.
Well, not right now, but after the show.
Right. Unless you got to have a flag on your cell phone, walk around. Yeah, make sure you got Wi-Fi or data or whatever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And meet them. As far as you know, it could be a human trafficker next door. They could be,
It could be.
You never.
Or it could be Mr. Rogers baking cookies. You never know. Again, you could meet the best person in your life, or you could, as Neely said, crack something wide open.
Yeah.
We need to take care of our country. This has been going on for too long.
Yeah.
What I don't like is how they're making it a political horse and pony show.
Yeah.
Why? Get the bad people out of here. Get them gone. If you're bad, you're bad. If you're good, you're good. We need to get the bad people out.
Exactly. And I don't even think it's with political affiliation any longer. I think that because what we see in the state of Illinois is we see a lot of the Republicans who are going against the 50-50 custody bill with a presumption rebuttal and clear and convincing evidence. We see that the Republican Party is going against that. Of all people, the Republican Party is going against that. And I think it's differentiated per state. And I think it's differentiated by whoever is being paid by the unions. And this is how you tell. There's a website out there that's called followthemoney.com. Followthemoney.com. So when you check out that site, you can type in your public official and you can see where they're getting funded from. And let me tell you something, when you see that, where they're getting their funds from, a lot of their funds, a lot of the times, are coming directly from the Bar Association. So there is a conflict of interest in what's going on and why things are being overlooked. And it's not a political affiliation per party. This is an institution that is paying both sides of the equation, both major parties.
This is a world problem. It is a world problem. We see that. But we are the country, America always helped other countries. We made democracies. People that were enslaved, we helped them. We haven't always had a bad standing, but it is what it is, right now. Now, the question is, how do we get ourselves, quit trying to play the blame game with each other?
Yeah.
Let's come up with some solutions and all work together to get this problem taken care of. If you cannot, you are part of that problem.
Exactly.
And enough is enough, and you're right, Jay, the 25, I did some research. There's been 25 presidents we've had that actually were a part of the Bar Association.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. There's your proof. How can you be an attorney and then that's the judicial branch, but then work for the executive branch? That's a violation of your separation of powers that's in the Constitution.
Right.
We have to have separation of powers.
Well, was definitely for sure the emoluments clause that was part of the 13th Amendment of the Constitution that's no longer there. And it was taken out because of the fact that they wanted to have political affiliations that were judicial for a long time. So we've seen that, and we see that all the time. But here's the issue that we're talking about too, and I know definitely Bud would definitely be talking about is the fact that, yes, we're going through these things. Yes, they're awful. Yes, they're atrocious. But at the end of the day, you've got to keep fighting. You've got to keep taking one step after another, and you've got to put one foot in front of the other. You cannot go to a situation where it's like, oh, woe is me, I'm going to be a victim today. You've got to be a victor, and that's your choice.
Right. And Jay, I was thinking as you were speaking too, we had Connie regularly on a show a while, probably almost a year ago now. And we talked about the normalization of things and how we accept certain things. It leads me into this. We talked about earlier about what you should and shouldn't allow. And the second you say, okay, when you know someone is doing something wrong to you, and the second you accept it, it gets easier to accept it the second time. And the third, and unfortunately, human nature is most people are takers. And the second you start giving, they'll take advantage and they'll start playing you out as a sucker and as a punk. And then what will happen is your confidence starts to get whittled down. Then you start to believe that you owe and that you're not as good as what you really are. And then you start to carry that victimization mentality and you start losing everywhere and you don't know why. You cannot win unless you got, again, I say all the time, look in the mirror and scream your name till the tears flow, till you feel it. And you start getting mad, not at the people that downed you, at yourself that you allowed it. The second you start to go, oh, and say no, turn around. I even implore, again, have a reasonable response to whatever is done. You want to keep things in check, but stand up for yourself. Even if you take it and you're starting to walk away, turn around. If you know later that day, don't be, I never, ever, Jay, and you know this, anymore in my life, sit on the couch and say, man, I should have said that. Man, I wish I, no. I don't care who it is, where it is, when it is. I don't treat people like shit or well. I treat them accordingly. I say that all the time. I treat people the way they should be treated. And again, I tell people, I say all the time, Jay, stand up for yourself, because that's where it starts. Start to do it a little bit. No, that you will be surprised. You teach people how to treat you. Believe me, you train them how to treat you. This is all. This for everybody out there. This world is your oyster. This is all just a play, Jay. And again, you make your future. This is your story, your book. Don't allow anyone to write your chapters. This is your movie. These are all your characters. They're all your puppets. Learn how to play this game, and that starts with self-pride and self-confidence, Jay. Self-respect.
Yeah, that's definitely right. And I know that you mentioned Connie regularly, so definitely want to give her best wishes out there, because obviously she'd had eye surgery today. So give her our best wishes out there and prayers and everything. So I know that she got through the surgery fine. Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. It was back out there in Tennessee, and I'll say, so yes, as Jay said. Now, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, because if Miss Regularly is watching, I don't know if she'll be able to see us right now. So that might be a good thing, Jay. Our ugly mug. Jay says he has a face for the radio, but we're just old men hanging on to teenage dreams. I said earlier, Jay. So we're just having a blast. We're just having a blast with So yeah, that's why we have to have a young pup like Neely on. She's 31. She's just a kid, right?
Yeah.
But she holds her own. She's awesome. She's well beyond her years.
Yeah, definitely. And we've not only added Neely to the mix, but behind the scenes, definitely Marianne Rutledge. She's doing an amazing job behind the scenes. I've kind of nicknamed her the Alaskan Assassin.
Yeah, Jay, she already had. Yeah, I meant to mention her too in the beginning. Yeah, she is great, and she got a little bit of a baptism by fire of Bud this week. And I haven't talked to her much, and my phone was acting haywire. I said, Mary Jane, I love you. And Jay tried to explain some of the behind the scenes stuff and why things happen and when Jay, right?
Yeah.
When it might happen to watch for. She is awesome and she handled it like a champ. She's great, and Neely is, and it's all we get a laugh, we get a kick out of it. Again, I always look for Jay and I too now. We look first and foremost at people's hearts. Yes. Where they're actually coming from, if it's actually from a genuine place. Right. We look for authenticity. That's in the beginning a lot more important. Jay and I say all the time, we'd rather have someone authentic that is moldable, even that might not have the raw talent as somebody else that will come on. It's just doesn't have that family sort of attitude we have, and that sort of
right. And the other thing is that we'll say is, I know that we will be looking in the future for people for off-camera roles. So if you are interested, definitely send us a line at the Far From Normal Radio Show.
Yeah, and
again, Jay, the Far From Normal Radio Show at gmail.com. Just send us a quick email. Let us know you're interested. Let us know what you're good and talented at, and we take a very, very close look at everything, and it's over an extended period of time, and we're very conservative about it because of the fact that we make sure that it's positive people that are looking in a positive direction to get things done and working in a motivated factor and are not part of the drama that goes on in the movement. So if you are interested, definitely hit us up. Definitely, bud.
Absolutely, Jay. Thank you, and I'm sorry to walk on you there. I appreciate you getting that in. Absolutely, and just I want to say too, to add to that, we have had people reach out, and we're not done with looking at those either. So people that have reached out don't think we're starting anew. This is we're calculating, and we're taking our time about it. Again, Jay and I say privately that this has been almost 2 years now, and we have a lot of pride in it, and we want the best of the best, and we want people with the best of intentions, the best of hearts, and hard workers. That's Neely. Neely's tireless. You can, if you reach out to Neely, she may answer at 3 a.m. I mean, she's one of us. She's a warrior. She's authentic. She is what she is.
Yeah, and definitely, and everybody on that team. Obviously, again, it's in where we have the same concept of what happened in DC, where everybody lays their ego at the door, and this is all about a team and the team's success. So that's how we approach different things in this. And so if you're definitely interested, obviously send us a line, and we'd love to kind of take a look and review and have a nice chat with you. And one way or the other, if we don't select you, don't take offense to it. It's just that we are very, very ultra conservative in that approach. So don't get offended by that.
Right. And if you are going to level a complaint, just send it to Pete McNeil. I'm going to blame anybody.
Yeah.
Just blame Pete. He's not on. He can't respond or defend himself. So he's easy to throw out there like that. He loves that anyway. He's a Brooklyn. He's out. We love our Pete Brooklyn McNeil right there.
Hey.
Oh, there he is. Oh, there
he is.
I told you, when he finally comes back, he's going to jump out from behind you.
He probably will.
Yeah. Something in DC. We'll have to record. We're going to, as I'll say too, Jay, we're going to start doing some promotional things too, in terms of different ideas we have coming up, but also some different marketing things we're going to be having to come out with. It's very exciting. We're very blessed, Jay.
Yeah, we're at a very crucial time in this show, because there are several different options that we'll be taking going forward. We've already had discussions with the board of directors, and we're going to go a different direction that maybe people may not expect us to go, and we're not going to say much more than that about it. But it's going to be very interesting going forward. But because of that, you should see much more coverage from us. You will see us at many more events coming up in the future, because we need to be a part of those events and to bring those live interviews as they come forward. And we're going to try and do that at our best. And so that way you're there, we're there, you feel a part of what's going on, even if you can't make it there. So we're going to get down into the dirt here real quick because it's already there at that time, bud.
That's depressing. We said, Jay, almost 2 years ago, we coined the depressing part of the show, the final 10 minutes. I'll never forget that. Those will be my last words, Jay. This is the depressing last 10 minutes. When I'm on my deathbed, you'll be like, oh, what's about to check out? This is it. The depressing part. Everybody get your shout-outs to butt in. Yo, this is it. And okay, Jay, so am I going first, Jay? Is that how we're going to roll?
Yeah, we'll roll Mr. Bud Veno.
Yo, June 26, 2018, with my brother from another mother, Jay Money Moss, and Neely, the power forward, Petrie. It's almost 10 o'clock on Tuesday. It's been another amazing show. Wendell, Jordan, Yahya, McClain. Keep those fists up, baby. We're going to be working with Yahya more in the future. Wendell, we're going to be talking soon, my brother. Awesome. Thanks for taking the time out. Thank you for everybody out there who's watched. My brother Brian Peasley, Kevin Moran, all my brothers and sisters out there, fellow warriors. Keep your chins up. It's not over till you say it's over. And Jay, I didn't hear no bell.
Oh,
I didn't hear no whip. Woo, I felt it too. I could feel it from over there in Illinois, Jay. And I want to just one more thing, Jay. Yeah. September 26th, as Jay mentioned, 2018, Be There or Be Square, Americans for Equal Share parenting event, Concord, New Hampshire. Concord, baby, Concord. I'll be there. I'll be there with bells on, and I actually may. I'm not home. I might show up. Some bells. I don't know. It was awesome talking to Mark yesterday, Ludwig. It's going to be amazing, guys. In all seriousness, get out there. I can't wait to see everybody standing up for their rights.
Awesome. So, Neely.
I want to give a shout out to all the viewers and warriors of the light and the truth tonight. I want to give a shout out to. I'm going to start giving shout out to people I don't even know, but that I like them. I've been watching. So I'm going to do that. His name's T. Dale Atkins, and he wrote a poem that really hit hard with what I follow. And this was what it was. It said, we making a change. We busting the game. We releasing the kids from chains. WWG1 WGA. Where we go one, we go all is what that means. Mm-hmm. We the real resistance. We the ones making the real stance. Steadfast and strong. Gonna rid the world. Those don't belong. I feel it like a fire. Settling those in bondage free is my desire. Can't stop this movement. Can't stop this. WWG1 WGA. And that was it. But
awesome.
From actually the reason that he wrote that is they were communicating through that, and the main viewer that I got that off of, and I won't mention his name because I actually got permission from Dale to use that on the show tonight. Awesome. But the other guy was actually a famous singer. I didn't even know this, and his song almost hit the second chart. So I'm gonna have to find out who that actually is, and maybe he'll be interested on coming on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Jay, real quick, I've got a couple just quick ones, man. You know I'd be in the doghouse. Number one, John Mondu, my BBC out there. Love you guys. And my beautiful wife, Allison, my little asbestos buddy. My thanks to you guys. Thank you, Jay. Yep. Everybody out there.
Oh, let me clear one thing up. He was going to be, his song was hitting it, but he got another path and he felt led to do something else. So now he's been fighting for our country, and it's in his poem. That's what it talked about is our fight. Everybody's fight.
Awesome here. So I'm going to go ahead and give Neely. From Kentucky. Awesome stuff. All right. So I want to definitely thank Wendell, Jordan, and we'll definitely thank Yahya, the champ, McClain here, for all of their hard work and dedication to putting out 2 amazing documentaries. And if you have a chance, obviously go see for $5. You can go out there to casualtiesofwar.com and you can view the Casualties of War.com documentary, and I'm definitely going to be doing the same here. I think I already have once, but I'll probably do it again and review it. So amazing video documentaries by these two guys. Wendell Jordan, Beat Dead Dads. So check that out when it hits. Also support him as soon as that funding site comes out. I'm sure he'll release that, and we'll release that on our website as well. So definitely take a look at those things and support in any way possible that you can with those documentaries. And I know that we will be supporting them as well. All of those dads and moms out there who are not seeing your children, or you're seeing them one night a week and every other weekend, feel encouraged. You are not alone in this fight. We love you and we care about you. And I want you to understand what we do on the Far From Normal radio show each and every week is we represent the parental equality movement. That movement entails family court. It entails DCF, CPS, and the alphabet groups that they want to name themselves per state. Now, we also understand that there are other aspects, parental alienation, all of the different things, and we try and tie all of our guests in some way, shape, or form back to those things because we feel that those are ultimately important. You are the base of this, and we could not be anything without you. Out there sharing the show, participating in the show, watching the show, doing what you do. So we love you. We care about you. We definitely appreciate you and understand this is your show. Like we say, this is your show. We just get blessed each and every week to be the hosts of the show and to be a part of it. And we're so thankful and grateful for the opportunity to do that each and every week. So with that being said, as we sign off on the Far From Normal radio show each and every week, you are important, you are loved, and you are cared about. God bless.
Chins up. Love ya. Yeah.
I'm walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Ready to explore right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky.